Hey guys, let's talk about last night's fantastic episode of Sleepy Hollow. I don't know if you've seen my last week's review, but if you didn't, I am such a fan of this show. It is so good. And when we start off the show last night with Frank Irving saying to Abby Mills, a dead guy, a mental patient, and a time traveler from the revolution, and her response is, that's our team. You know it's going to be a great episode. And great it was. I mean, there were so many twists and turns. It was so good. And I loved every single moment of it. We picked up right where we left off with the Headless Horseman captured. And they're in this Masonic temple, and there's a hex, and he's trapped up in all these chains, and there's these UV lights shining down on him, and he cannot get away, and it's awesome. So, of course, Ichabod wants to interrogate him. He wants to ask him all these questions. But hello, he's a headless horseman. How is he going to do that? Well, it just so happens that Brooks, who can talk to and I guess speak for dead people, is just the guy that they need. And he's living in the tunnels, and they get him and they bring him in, and he's very reluctant. He doesn't want to do it. He's basically sold his soul to the Molochs, and he knows that they own him, and he's just warning them that this is a bad idea. But Ichabod wants to do it anyway, so the plan is set into motion. They chain him up, they sit him in front of the Headless Horseman, and the Headless Horseman basically possesses Brooks, and now he speaks for Brooks. And what he has to say is pretty awesome. So, through flashbacks, we find out that Ichabod had a best friend named Abraham. And Abraham was engaged to, or betrothed to Katrina. And of course, Katrina was in love with Ichabod, and this created some problems because she didn't want to marry Abraham, and she basically told him so. And when he finds out that the engagement is off, he's destroyed. And he goes to Ichabod and he says, why doesn't Katrina want to marry me? Like somebody like me, like my status is here and hers is here. Like, who does she think she is? And Ichabod says, listen, I'm sorry, but she basically said she loves me and we didn't mean to hurt you, and that is why your engagement is off. And Abraham does not take too kindly to this revelation. And they're on their way to give the declaration, the first draft of the Declaration of Independence. And like, this is something that is so important, and they have to do it. However, they have, like, these woods are full of mystical creatures, and Ichabod knows that, and he has to be very careful. And this is when the Hessians shoot and try to kill Abraham and Ichabod. But they shoot Abraham, and Ichabod takes off and leaves him dying. But before this, they had like this crazy duel, and they drew their swords, and it was sort of like fighting for their woman, and it was kind of crazy. And of course, Ichabod didn't want to do it. It's his best friend, and he didn't mean to fall in love with Katrina, but he did. And hello, can you say, Ichabod, talk about revealing some information at the wrong time, okay? Timing is everything, and this was not the right time to reveal that piece of information. So anyways, Ichabod takes off. Abraham's laying there bleeding, and the pretty much the Hessians come over, and right before he dies, he sells his soul to Moloch. And Moloch pretty much turns him into the Headless Horseman. The Hessians dress him up into the British garb. They shave his head. They stamp him with this, like that, that looks like the thing that steers a boat. Like, crazy. And all of a sudden, Abraham is now a Headless Horseman. So when Ichabod is interrogating the horseman, and he's speaking through Brooks, and Brooks, by the way, sounds very creepy in the voice of the Headless Horseman. He's asking him, like, why didn't you leave once you killed all of the Freemasons? And he's like, I stuck around because I have, revenge to seek out, and that is because, and then they start to duel. And oh, I'm so sorry. The power goes out, and this allows the Headless Horseman to become free, and they start fighting, and they start dueling, and they're like battling with their swords. And this is when Ichabod realizes that the Headless Horseman is his best friend Abraham. So Katrina is in purgatory because the headless horseman wants to get her soul back, and in doing that, he is set out to kill Ichabod. Even though that is not the mission he was sent on, the mission he was sent on was just to kill the Freemasons, and he's going rogue at this point, and he is determined to kill Ichabod so that he can torture him and he will get Katrina back. And I mean, it is cray, okay? But it is just so good. So the hex on this like temple that he's in has been broken. Brooks basically had to call in the minions of Moloch to save Ichabod, and all of a sudden, boom, 1, 2, 3, they disappear. So Crane is sitting in the room. He's almost died, and it's ridiculous. We have no idea where the three of them disappeared to. It's bananas. And I mean, like, there's so much revelation that we get in this. It's awesome. So not only is the Headless Horseman there to get her soul back, and like when he meets up with the four horsemen of the apocalypse, like craziness, but he's also back to wreak havoc on Ichabod, and it's personal. He stole the love of his life, and he wants revenge. And I mean, what is greater than that? I mean, crazy. I did not see this coming in any way, shape, or form, and it's fantastic. And Abby was pretty much like a backseat to this episode, but she was trying to calm Ichabod down. She was like, listen, do not let the horseman use Katrina against you. He knows that you have a weakness, and he's going to try to continue to rally you up and get you aggravated, and that's the last thing you want. And of course, now that Abby and Ichabod know what his weakness is, which is Katrina, they need to get Katrina back pronto. So on the B storyline, we had Jenny, and she had just been released from the psych ward, and she was off with Frank Irving, and they were on their own mission. They were pretty much trying to stop the Hessians from destroying I guess the power grid, so that they couldn't shut the power down, which would then ultimately help free the horsemen. And they were off doing their mission, and it was kind of cool because Irving was badass, and he got his whole like SWAT team to come in and like get these Hessians, and he was like, you think you're bad? I'm better than you. And like, it was just really great to see him on board. And I mean, like I said, do we know that we can trust him? No. But is he acting as it right now? Yes. And I love it. And then we've got Jenny, who knows so much information. And is she on the right side of all this? Is she playing us? Like, we don't know. But I mean, it is what we're watching is great. She goes and she's like, because she's got a kernel of she's got knowledge coming out of her yin yang, because she's been doing all this stuff before. And she adds like this great, more piece like resource, a piece of information that they can always go to and grab. So it's just great. So we've got Brooks, we've got Ichabod, we've got Katrina, we've got Abby. Like, is there so many things going on? And it was just like boom, 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 boom. Like, there's so much happening, and I was like, I cannot wait to see what happens next. I mean, this show is bananas, and it's bananas in the best way possible. And at the end, we have this great scene again between Ichabod and Abby, and they're talking before the power comes back on. And you know, he is obviously holding all the guilt. He's saying that this is all my fault, and because you know I fell in love with Katrina, this is now, you know, Abraham hates me and he's gonna come and try to kill me, and like, this is all my fault. And she's like, listen, everybody makes choices, and he didn't have to sell his soul to Moloch and become this headless horseman. He chose to do that. So like, stop, you know, with the pity party. And you know, they basically say like, now more than ever we need to get Katrina. So what this means and how they plan to do this, I have no idea. And what I also thought was really interesting was Brooks, because Brooks is, you know, has like feelings for Abby. And here's the thing. Last week I said that, you know, we could have done without, I think her ex-boyfriend's name is Luke. And like, he doesn't even need to be in this show, because, you know, you could have Brooks as the love interest for Abby that, you know, he's been longing for all this time. And because he's like conflicted, you know, he doesn't want to be bad, but he's lost his soul, so he has to be. And even in that last moment, he, you know, before he takes the headless horseman and the minions of Moloch go off, he says, you know, tell Abby that I'm sorry. Like, you can tell that he's conflicted, that he doesn't want to do these bad things, but he has to. And I like that about his character. So we don't really know what side he's going to fall on. He doesn't want to fall on the bad side, but he has no choice. And I mean, his scenes with Abby are far more powerful than anything we've seen with this ex-boyfriend. So like, if he was to go, whatever. There's no love lost there. But all in all, another great episode. This show is just like, whew. Like I'm watching it and I'm literally like, I need to rewind. I need to hear that again. I need to re-see that scene again. Like it is so crazy. The flashbacks were awesome to see that, Ichabod was the one who picked out the green necklace that the headless horseman had at the beginning of the scene, and which triggered all these flashbacks. Like the fact that he picked these out for Katrina, and that Abraham really didn't even know what Katrina truly loved and what her personality would want, but Ichabod knew. So you knew that this is like an innocent bond that grew and they fell in love, and he didn't mean to do all this, but I mean this also I think helps to add layers to Katrina and Ichabod's backstory, because all we see right now is Abby and Ichabod. Abby and of course everybody's shipping the two of them, which I love. But he does have a wife and they have a rich history, and I'm glad that we're starting to get information about it, and it's developing her to be not just like some woman's name that we just keep hearing, or this witch that exists somewhere, but that she's a true person that he loves and is his wife. So what is going to happen there? God only knows. What I do know is we have, I believe, 5 episodes left, and I can't wait. All right, guys, that is my review of Sleepy Hollow. I'll see you next week. Bye.